My name is Ora. I'm kind of a dork, and this is my space. Does that work? I think I keep things separate, which is good and bad. I guess I have like 3 primary passions that are embodied in this space, and we can start with music. When I first started playing guitar, was just kind of learning folk tunes by ear. And a lot of like droniness and a lot of different notes at the same. Anyway, when I started playing violin, which was a few years after I began guitar, I was studying classical music mostly. Loved both incredibly, but there's no conversation being had between the two of them. Wanting to explore jazz guitar. And similar, like, there's no conversation between folk guitar and jazz guitar, so a lot of the stuff I think about now is kind of like, one, how can I use the training I have, which is most comfortable with a lot of sort of techniques that aren't necessarily talked about in like a classical or jazz setting, but like merging some of the theoretical knowledge I have with that folk, so kind of jazz and folk in one. One of the things that always kind of frustrated me about going to concerts is you'd go and you'd have that experience that only exists in the context of that space and that concert hall for that night, or venue, I guess is more accurate, and then it's over and you don't really have much to take with you beyond that. I think really struggled with that because I like want things to remind me of my experiences. Set lists are another way that I try to take memories from certain evenings with me and sort of remember, who I went to the concert with, what that was like. Oftentimes they would play songs that weren't on set lists. Sometimes I've gone to shows that I've loved so much and there were no set lists, so I'd go home and I'd write down every song they play and the date, and I'd save it. I have a paper like that somewhere. Coming off of the kind of athletic part of my life where I kind of view being athletic or a sort of, for me it's kind of a task that like I like to engage with because it lets me see what my limits are. This game of like how much can I learn and teach my body to do in a way that's, there's a word I want, can't think of it, that's fine, I'm gonna move on. I was abroad in France last semester, and one of the things I really liked about being abroad is it gave me the opportunity to collect a lot of things, and in particular train tickets and protest posters and postcards and tickets from different museums as a way to catalog the things I was doing. I have like a box that catalogs every semester of my life. That was made really easy when I was abroad, so I really liked that I was able to collect these fragments of my life that I could put back together when I moved into this space. I biked out of Paris to Normandy and kind of saw the D-Day beaches. And it was an experience where I really got to think a lot about what I enjoy doing with my free time and kind of who I want to be spending that time with. Here, I have race numbers from all of the races I've been through so far. So again, I guess this idea of memory as it's embodied in the space I live in. And then the last part of my room that also captures something else that's really important to me is sort of the academic part of my life, which is gender and sexuality studies in music. All of this being my thesis research. That's being embodied literally by the books I have to read, and I think that's a basic tour of my room. I like old things. One of my favorite books is In Search of Lost Time by Proust, which is so pretentious. I read it when I was in class with a teacher who made it really accessible and enjoyable, and kind of we got to reflect on this text as a class, and it just it's funny how a lot of my attachments to things happen because of the people who introduced them to me. So I actually have a typewriter under my bed, but the reason that's important to me is because a guitar teacher I've known since I was 10, his father passed away and he was giving away some of his old things and saw this typewriter and was like, you should have this. I guess I like preserving some type of, like, whether it's my own memory of different moments in my life and how I work through them, or taking on the memories of other people. I don't know if that makes much sense, but yeah. That's all I have, unless you have more questions.